A Week Alone in Paris, Sunday blog 242, 19th of July 2026. Last Sunday blog, I was checking into my Airbnb at 7 a.m. on Tuesday 30th of June, thanks to my kind host who took pity on me, a long-haul flight survivor. I didn't dare test the wheeled backpack plus suitcase combination on the metro from Charles de Gaulle Airport, opting for a taxi. Just a few streets shy of our destination, the van in front of us stopped in a small, impassable street and proceeded to load and unload 50 boxes. Finally, I was deposited at the approximate location of my accommodation. Then I just had to peer at the map, checking I was travelling the way the arrow wanted me to, wrangle a door code, ascend 2 flights of stairs twice because baggage, and voila! I'd reached my home for a week. For my next book project, I'm researching the period 1850 to 1920 with a keen interest in the Paris siege of 1870, which culminated in the Paris Commune of 1871. A post-revolution, if you will, to tackle the unfinished business of the French Revolution we all envisage, with the guillotine and Marie Antoinette heading to her doom. The Paris Commune of 1871 was a diverse group of soldiers, students, women, artists, looking for the equality, liberty and fraternity, even sorority, that hadn't quite been delivered. For my precious Parisian week, I toggled between knocking out the work to keep the dollars rolling in and hitting the streets for my book research. Out into Paris I would go, shedding those dollars more rapidly than they could accrue. I'd made a haphazard list of places to visit, and the top of it was the Musée du Carnavalet of Paris. I headed there the day after the big flight. A bit like IKEA, the Musée Carnavalet made me walk through all the previous galleries until I could get to my desired historical period. With that ticked off, the next on my list was Père Lachaise Cemetery, but did I visit Jim Morrison's grave? I did not. Instead, I found my way to the Mur des Fédérés, the site of the last stand of the Paris Commune. Here, the final rebels were cornered, lined up and shot, and were buried where the wall now stands. That brought La Semaine Sanglante, the Bloody Week, to a close, where the French government troops executed between 20,000 and 25,000, there's no precise figures available, of the communards without trial. Not before the rebels had seen imminent defeat and murdered a bishop being held hostage and torched much of Paris, so there were atrocities on both sides. But still, it's a forgotten civil war I had never delved into prior to this book project. I sat next to the Mur des Fédérés and re-listened to a podcast episode from A Journey Through Time on the end of the Commune. Imagine the last battle raging between the headstones and the desperate last stand. After this still and sombre moment, I dined nearby, consuming a very indifferent and expensive salad, not the last one I would encounter in France. And I made my way back to my atelier, my lonely garret for 1 week. How glorious it was.